ultimately benefited your mission or organization. But at the end of the day, it was, you just knew being there wasn't enough.
Yeah, well, yeah, and again, I think it goes back, if I'm hearing this correctly, I think it goes back to this is a military concept, right? Lead from the front, right? Like Gabi said, I wouldn't ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do. I don't say, hey, we really need to work on this park at the riverfront. You guys bring me back a report how it went, because I'm in charge, right? No, you get up, you go out there, you roll up your sleeves, and you do everything you can. Leading by example, I guess, is what I would call it. If you are above service, you are beneath leadership, right? You have to be able to serve and do it by example. And sometimes, yeah, just hanging around doesn't do it. There are a lot of times where that's good, right? That'll fill the bill. But there are just times where it's not. And sometimes it's, maybe you have somebody, and it's not even in the context of a project you're doing. This is somebody you've got to know, and they're having a crisis, right? And maybe it's more than being present. Maybe it's sitting and listening. Maybe it's, I do this with first responders. I've had first responders weep. First responders don't weep, but I've had them. And they're talking about something they went through. I had a firefighter 20-some years ago walk into my office. He had in 1 month carried 3 deceased infants out of buildings. And he was overwhelmed. And so we sat and talked. I gave him a hugger. I did that. Sometimes it's beyond just the quote unquote mission, because not the mission. The mission is very important. But what's first is the people. Because if the people don't count, then the mission doesn't get carried out the way it should.
That works for me also.
We're just going to keep.
Yes, I hope. How long does this go to?
Oh, is it that? Okay.
So when you say present, can you clarify what you mean by that?
Basically, when just you being involved in a project wasn't enough. So like, I'm thinking for you, it'd be a great, maybe talk about like wildness, right? You're not just a passive, artist that was hired to do it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it evolved into you basically taking your organization, your mission, your core beliefs, and realizing that, you can get the community behind that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that tee up. No, that makes sense. Thank you. So I guess to my 2 examples that come to mind, and really it's probably in all the work that I've done in terms of public art in Clinton, but so the Grove, if you're familiar, the little pocket park that's now an outdoor art gallery, that was sort of my first, and the weird thing is like, I didn't do this thinking like, I'm the leader, I have to do it or no one will. I just was like, I got it. I want to do this for my community because I think it would be really cool. And I think it would make people happy. That was pretty much it. Right. And I got to do a project as an artist that would be really fun and interesting for me. And so, that was essentially seeing this space that had kind of fallen into, neglect and wasn't being looked after and wanting and seeing it again as an asset. So I think I also have a real strong asset mentality. So I kind of don't look at things and see, oh, boo, it's an ugly park. People are staying there that shouldn't be staying there. There's like needles everywhere. I was like, oh, wow, this is such an awesome little secret garden. Like more people should come here. That's really what started it. And so I looked at it and I had an opportunity. There was a grant, I got it, and then I just did it. And then the repercussions from that was what surprised me most. I guess that's kind of when I was like, oh, wow, this was actually really important, not just because we saved that little park, but then it became a permanent outdoor art gallery that now the city takes care, like it's always been part of Parks and Rec, but now there's a line item in their budget to pay for that every year so that we're constantly keeping that alive. Other people took ownership and are now caring for it. I managed the project, but I think that was when it wasn't enough to just be present. And I think what made that project special and also wildness is that I got a lot of people from different walks of life to get behind the same concept. So people from Public Works, the creators of the frames, the creators of the canvases, people who have never hung out and been together, all of a sudden got to be part of this really weird and cool thing. And that was so amazing to see that transformation happen with the people who, at first begrudgingly were a part of it because their boss told them to. And then they were like, Gabby, can we do this every year? This is awesome. This shouldn't just be a one-year thing. And that was the same with wildness. Again, I love Clinton. I love Clinton County. I love our natural landscapes and the wildlife that live here. And I wanted to do a project that celebrated that and brought more attention to Clinton County conservation and our park areas. And that was really the impetus for a 1.5 year long project it brought so much we had so many people come from around the region and beyond to come visit that exhibit. And it still lives on today. This weekend, we're hanging more of those panels back out in the wilderness. And I just did a program with Jess about the things that we learned with wildness, which I won't get into with you, because I'd be here you would be here for way longer than you want to be. So, but essentially, I guess those are and even with Paint It Back, again, it wasn't enough to say, hey guys, this building's an eyesore. Just to let you know, maybe you should do something about it. It was like, hey, what do you think if we painted the building and you don't really have to worry about anything? We'll just make it beautiful. And now here we are. So.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into a next question. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you talk about how your leadership has inspired the individual, or how you've approached the individual with kind of that holistic community approach? Now, for the Pastor Lott, I'll set him up. It was some of maybe your stories with when you respond to a death or something like that. But for Gabi, can you talk maybe like with Jessica, how did your leadership inspiring and maybe really transforming Jessica Steins is a great story for that. So
I had the privilege of partnering with Jessica Steines, who's our naturalist, one of our naturalists of Clinton County Conservation. And, I came to them, essentially I came to them with this idea where I was like, so I want to do this thing and I want to gather berries and leaves and flowers and get stones and make natural pigments and inks and do a massive body of artwork based using those things. And I want to stay in Miss Elkton for 8 weeks and do it. And then I want to have a huge art show at your community center in Rock Creek. And then we're going to take down the panels and put them back in the woods. And Jessica was like, I gotta ask Bill, the director. He was like, yeah. But honestly, she's like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And she was excited right away, and thankfully Phil said yes, and fast forward, we did it. But what was amazing was originally the partnership was Jessica was the naturalist, the scientist, and I was the artist. And by the end, because she was felt at first she was really timid and shy and didn't want to do anything that was art related, but I was like, go for it. Let's see what you can do. It'll be fun. And that would be such a big help for me. And then by the end, so she's as much a part of that project as I am. And she really embraced and she started doing so much more art and creative things in her personal life. And now is including the knowledge that we gained on that project together. Now she is empowered to teach that to other people without me needing to be there. And that was amazing just by being there and encouraging her and inviting her to participate with me on the more quote unquote creative aspects. It was really amazing. And also she brought out a lot of, what I felt timid about. She encouraged me and gave me knowledge where I feel, I can be in the woods. I can pick out some stuff now where I couldn't. And even, with just Paint It Back recently as well, we had some of our board members. I wanted our artists to have wristbands so people would know who the artists were. And then one of our board members ended up creating these beautifully crafted metal, they're gorgeous. And And it wasn't because I asked him to do that. It was because he felt inspired and empowered to create something and participate in a creative activity. And I think for me in my world, that is the best thing that I can do. That is one of the best products of doing the work that I do, is when people take it upon themselves and feel like they can create and be creative and to have that in their, as make that part of their lives. Because I mean, obviously, I believe that making things and being creative or just like doing something creative really helps you feel joy and hope in a way that it's really hard to come by these days. So anyhow.
So let me introduce something that maybe seems counterintuitive. Let me talk about something that didn't work. Okay, I mean, it worked a little bit, but it didn't work like we wanted. About 15 years ago, we started a thing called Vision 8, and we did it. There was a police officer, myself, a couple of nurses. We invited the mayor, we invited a couple of business people, and we sat down and we met at Restrella's because it wasn't about a church, it wasn't about that, it was about how do we serve our community. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could all play together and not weed in each other's Wheaties and not worry about who gets the, the credit. We just do things to help Clinton. So we formed a group called Vision 8, lasted about 8 years. Confession, which probably doesn't need confession, probably all gathered this. I'm not an administrator at all, not even. And so I could set up projects and people would come and we do them. But what I did not have the leadership skill to do as an administrator was to organize it for continued growth. So we got new people. So the time came where I said, it's time to let this die a natural death because it's doing what we want it to do in terms of being self-replicating. Now, on the other side of the coin, what Matt alluded to, I having worked with first responders for a couple decades. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're good. Okay.
I am not aware of any.
I do a training with fire police. Every time we get new recruits, I train them, and probably every 2 years, I do it with the established officers, firefighters, deputies. I do a thing called stress and trauma survival, where we talk about the nature of trauma, the nature of stress, the fact that the job you do immerses you not just in your own stress, but other people's stress. And if you don't find healthy, creative ways to deal with that stress, it will kill you. I borrow from a gentleman named Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, who says he never asked people he was debriefing, particularly the tier 1 people, do you think you need to talk about it? He said, I would tell them, if you don't talk about this, it will kill you, fast or slow, it'll kill you. And so I do that training. And the cool thing is, there's now an interest in developing peer support programs within those departments, which is where they help take care of each other, as well as the chaplains taking care of them. And so just one quick example. I got a call one night, hey, bad call. There was a fatality, and our newest firefighter was the one who found the body, and it was pretty rough. Can you come in? Yep. So I came in, and as others were coming in, I was talking to them and sort of informally debriefing them, and waited for this individual, didn't come. And finally the chief came and said, oh, he said the battalion chief took him upstairs to talk to him. I'm really sorry. I go, wait, you're sorry because the battalion chief is taking care of one of his guys? No, that's what we want. That's awesome, right? So, and again, I think that comes by example. I think you do it, and then people have a chance to decide for themselves, either this is worth emulation or this cat's playing a game, one or the other. And if you're not playing a game, if you're being legit, they'll follow, right? Even crush steel for first responders.
Okay, these next 2 questions are really why I thought of both of you as well. Brenda Thornton was going to be the other one. She had something that came up. And I think there's a theme that ran throughout, especially in your introduction. So, what message do you have for us about the importance of service in our community? And both of you believe in the communities, renewal and renaissance. So, what role does service and then we ourselves have in the communities renewal? So what messages do you have for us to carry the torch?
Yeah, carry it. Right? I'm gonna borrow from somebody's much more highly financed PR program and just say, just do it. I mean, find your passion for this community and live into that, right? And invite people to come along and invite them to get engaged. And this is worth renewing, right? This community is worth renewing. And too many people don't see that. There's all kinds of different reasons and all that, but yeah, I think you find your passions. For some it's art, right? For some it's first responders. For others, it's going to be the waterways, or it's going to be, I don't know, the downtown district. But find your passion and then just go for it, do it, and invite people to come along and cast that vision for them. Let them see that. And if you get the opportunity to set up some kind of, hey, we're going to do this event on this, then do that. And don't be, I hope my sharing something that didn't work for me would maybe, it's not fatal, didn't kill me. I didn't like it, but it didn't kill me. And in fact, I got a call probably 6 months ago from a pastor down in Davenport, and he says, hey, did you, whatever that's called, trademark Vision 8? I said, no. Well, because we'd like to do something like that here, try it. And we're wondering if we can use it. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. I'd be delighted for somebody to use that name. Right. So it may not work the way you think it's going to work, but that doesn't mean it ain't going to work. Right. It just means it will be in a different way. And that's okay. That's absolutely all right. Again, allow me to preach for 10 seconds. You know what? The good Lord, he works it out, whether we think he has or not. That's been my experience for 50 years. So anyway, tap.
Okay, so Betty, what was the question?
Basically, right, the importance of service in the community.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, I think, so something I found really exciting this year with our Paint It Back Festival was, usually I have to not beg, but it's, I have to ask people to donate their time and volunteer for our big block party day. But this year, I had people asking me if they could volunteer, not like a couple people, but like a lot of people, which was incredible to me because I guess what made me realize is that people saw what we are doing, this group of garage band volunteer renegade misfits weirdos, when first year we did it, it was a positive, people liked it. The second year they were like, oh, okay, I get it. But this year it was like people were asking us if they could help, asking us what they could do. We were no longer reaching out to people. And I realized that it takes a while, but people just saw our persistence and our passion, and that we just kept doing it. And people were starting to be like, oh, this is kind of awesome, like this little band of goofballs, right? And what was happening. And that to me was like, oh, wow, just having that passion and that dedication and consistency. And it got to a point where people wanted to be a part of it. And so now they were asking to join us, which was really amazing. So I think that in terms of, it's important, the people don't know what they are capable of or what they're worthy of or what they deserve sometimes until you kind of show them, right? And with my art projects in town, part of what I do is I want to show people what they're worth. They are worth having cool art in where they live. Even if they don't necessarily go there, they can see it in a picture or hear other people's excitement about it. And I think when we are, and that and by doing that over time, people are like, oh yeah, like this is a place where maybe I can have a cool idea and I can do these things, right? So I think just, the showing other people doing it and showing and being consistent and passionate, and then inviting people to come along, and sometimes other people will ask to join because they'll see the good that's happening, and I think that's what is so amazing. It helps. If nobody's contributing to the community, people are never always going to think they live in some, thumbs down place. But the more people are actively participating in our community in acts of service, then that becomes something that is undeniable. And maybe this is a place worth caring about. And maybe this is a place where cool things happen. And maybe there is a place where there is hope and energy and life and all these cool, fun things that do exist here already, but just people need to see that. And I think that's why it's important and how that helps to pass along the torch. So I think that's my answer. That's my answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's the reason, right, and anybody here brave enough to say my opinion. So one of the things I had you guys here, you also make it seem so easy, right? You live it, it's your core belief, you lead with it, and you just make it sound so easy. But I know many of us perhaps struggle. And how do we keep our core beliefs in service in our job? How do we, go about, prioritizing our service and our leadership, those type of things? How do you lead with your faith, belief in art, the renewal, any words of wisdom for us who are trying to find that way to balance all the things in life and still keep that core belief and service center? So I'll give whoever wants to answer that first. It's a loaded question right now.
Rock, scissors, paper.
Yeah. You went first the last time.
Yeah, I went first last night.
Okay, those are my,
I'll be a weasel.
okay. Well, I guess, I feel like I can only answer this in the way that I'm capable of answering this question, which is, with full transparency and honesty. So my job is to be an artist. That is how I pay my bills. So I feel a little bit like I feel a little bit bad answering this because, I feel it's a blessing. I'm blessed enough to live what my core belief is, and what my purpose is also part of my practice as an artist, which then is how I get projects or places and things like that. So that being said, I mean, it is still a balancing act between like Paying It Back, which is a nonprofit and totally volunteer and it's like a full-time job and a half. And then my other life of producing work and being contracted by other people for art stuff. So you were saying what is?
Okay, so I guess I know a little bit about this type of stuff. I guess the way to ask you is with Paying It Back, right?
Yeah.
Even your own art, you're not going to compromise your core belief of what art is for a paycheck.
No, never, not in 1,000 years. No, it'll never happen. No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. My core belief is because I think my core belief has gotten me this far and it has never failed me, much like faith. And so I have faith in that belief, in the goodness of that. And so I cannot, because for me, it was and it is that faith in art and the power of art that has guided every decision that I've made and has actually gotten me to a point in my career where I'm at now. And I could never compromise that for a paycheck, because then the thing that makes all of this viable and what makes it, gives me the strength and the power to do that would be compromised. And there's no money on, I just couldn't, yeah.
Yeah, you'd like this, Ron. We wrote our own 10 commandments. Paying It Back. Paying It Back and be self-sufficient tomorrow.
Mhm.
If we didn't have our 10 commandments, we didn't believe them and didn't follow them. We could make, I say we, but yeah, right, we could make money tomorrow and never have to worry again about donors and any of that, but we wouldn't be paying it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is, there's a certain sense of integrity. In our case, it's about allowing artists to make art and believing like that's where the magic is, when you just let someone who's exceptionally talented and skilled just flex. And that in turn also like, and if you do that and you honor that, you will be paid dividends because all of a sudden you don't have a logo on the side of your building. You have a work of art, world-class art that people come from all over to see. And they might just happen to go in your business. And it benefits the community. So I guess that is probably more the answer you were looking for, correct, Matthew?
I don't really care what you guys.
Okay. The thing is, though, and it might not pay off now in terms of that, but over time, if you stick to that core belief and you have that demonstrated integrity, like then we are already the organization people are coming to when they want quality work and they know that we can bring the artists who can deliver that. We are also the organization that world-class artists want to work with because they know we care about our people and we are uncompromising when it comes to our core beliefs.
Well, you would hope, wouldn't you, that Amanda McClough would be all about integrity and 100% sold out. And I'd like to believe I am that to the degree that any human can be, right? Because we're all flawed. So 7 years ago, I took a 1 month sabbatical in preparation. I knew in 5 years I was going to retire. And I wanted a month off. And so my deacon said, great, you got it, it's yours. What are you going to do? I said, well, I want to do, well, 3 things. One, I want to travel with my bride. Number 2, I said, I want to take off the pastor's hat and the chaplain's hat and just be Ron. And then number 3, I want to get reacquainted with Ron. Because like it or not, down the road here, that's all I'm going to have. And I got to make sure I'm okay with him and who he is. And I'm telling you, at the end of the day, whether you're retiring or not, what you're left with, the heart of the beast, if you will, is you, right? You have to be able to look in the mirror every day and say, either I'm a schmo, right? I'm a gamer, I'm a poser, or I am doing my best to be legit, a man of integrity, a woman of integrity, a woman of honor, a man of honor, however that fits, right? And so, yeah, I think to have any impact, other than serve as a negative example, you have to maintain high standards in terms of embracing whatever it is your passion is. That has to be first and foremost, because frankly, that's also the thing that's going to re-energize you. I mean, we do all those other hobby things like we talked about, but what really energizes us is when we see the light come on for somebody, right? They're like, really? Again, whether it's art, service, or whatever. So that's, yeah, completely non-negotiable.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's almost 3 o'clock before we end closing statements. Is there any questions from anybody in the audience? Any general questions? Well,
Wasn't a question, except that what I see or a theme that I heard throughout this whole thing was that if you empower people to get involved, and that's the hard part, is first getting somebody into it if they're not into it, but then once they are, it brings that joy to the community. I mean, I heard that all throughout this thing. I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning, so yeah, that's what I'm most excited about as I belong to different organizations, is just bringing people along so they can see how great the community is and how being a part of it is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can share detail, Ron, but can you talk a little bit about how you how it was, a place of extreme grief and someone has passed away. Some of the ways that you go to engage that person who might be standoffish, doesn't want to, maybe they don't even want to see God.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I use an example when I do a presentation every year at the Citizens Police Academy for the people when we take a night and we talk about chaplaincy. And I always use this example because I think it speaks. So there was an elderly woman whose grandson committed suicide in her house, and I got the call, can you meet us at one of the end stations? And so I went and I'm standing at the end stations. The ambulance pulls up with this grandmother and two of this decedent's friends who happened to be there. And one of the young firefighters, all excited and ready to provide service, says, "Ma'am, this is our chaplain, if you'd like to talk to him." And the response was, and I quote, "I don't want to talk to any goddamn minister. Where was God when this happened?" I took that, okay, that's pretty much a hard no, okay. So I went inside and I made a pot of coffee, and I went and poured coffee for the three of them sitting at the table, and all I said was, "My name's Ron, I'm the chaplain. Not here to add to your grief. I'm not here to get, theological with you. I'll be over here by the coffee pot. If you need something, let me know. If you need information, I will contact the police or the fire to get whatever information I can." And I went back and I sat quiet. The old gal kept giving me the evil eye, right? She kept checking me out, and finally, she did like my mom used to do. She had this finger like this. She pointed at me, actually pointing off at my brother, and she said, "You did Stubbs' funeral, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I did." And she said, "Well, I'll talk to you. Come sit down." And then she just began to cry and ask questions. And I tried to steer, my point is, you steer people towards hope. You steer people towards encouragement, right? You're there to bring comfort, right? And it's not just for the family members, the community, it's for those officers who walked in and saw this, right? They saw stuff you don't ever want to see, ever, right? And so sometimes then afterwards, there's that people talking about that kind of stuff. Is that what you were looking for? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I always tell people in that presentation, if you ever see me in an official capacity, you're having a really crappy day, and I hope you never see me in that capacity.
Yeah, but I think what your approach speaks to what Regina picked up on, and it's true, right, is you guys are present oftentimes also through that kind of quiet leadership, that quiet stubbornness, whatever it is, like you're there, but you know how to inject your guys' core belief and your direction without having to beat someone over the head with it.
Being overbearing, being a pain in the, you choose your body part. Yeah. Because I know how I respond to that. Somebody gets up in my face, oh golly, I love it. No, I hate it, now I'm gonna fight it. Right? So, we make the invitation. We make ourselves available. Whether we're doing minister work, or we're doing art work, or we're doing management work, we make ourselves available. Because I found, you didn't ask for this. I found that whether you're pastoring, whether you're parenting, whether you're teaching, whether you're corporate executive, right? Leadership doesn't change. Leadership is leadership. It's the same doggone principles. It's the same selflessness. And we respond, whether we're children, students, parishioners, or employees, in the same way to that leadership. So it's applicable across the board.
So I think that's probably as a good closing statement as it can be, unless anything else that she wants to.
Just the jazz hand.
Yeah, just the jazz. Well, so thank you everybody, everybody
Yes, thank
here for the 10th Leadership Unlocked. We've got 2 more, and that will complete the year. And so again, thank you for everybody for your time. This is 3 o'clock. But feel free, as we always do at this moment, if you want to still pass your last thing, brief. You can still talk for 10, 15 more minutes and all that, but if you have to get going, I appreciate your guys' time and commitment to this series and today. So let's go out there and change the world, right?
Yeah. The Secret Garden. So it is very close to here, actually. So on 4th Avenue South, next to Midwest Pets for Life, in between American Financial. All right, that might not be right name, but it's on 4th Avenue, 125 4th Avenue South. And it's yeah. The secret little garden. I just drove by there yesterday, and someone was just.
Does it go all the way through?
No, it goes through. So it's the little garden, and then there's the alley, And then like La Feria, I think is there, and then it would be Fifth Avenue. But
Oh, yeah, I know where.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's pretty, it's awesome. I still love that little place.
You know, there's two other things I picked up from you guys that I appreciate: leadership. Lead by example.
Mhm.
Don't ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do.
Right.
The other is, one thing that I remember when I was doing different things in leadership was, when you start rising up and people start seeing you can do things, they keep asking you to do more.
Mhm.
And in quoting scripture, I always say this: if the devil can't make you bad, he makes you busy.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason why I say that is that it gets spread so thin that you just run in place and there's no progress.
Yes.
So you gotta know the when.
Yeah.
So that, like you said, to be healthy for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, then you're never gonna be the effective person that you're being called to be. You will use those gifts that you can use to inspire others. And those are the other two things I picked up as well today, so thanks.
Thank you.
You remind me with that quote, great woman. I don't know if you have ever heard of Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch citizen. She and her family were imprisoned by the Nazis for hiding Jews. Her entire family died in concentration camps. She lived through, I believe, 3 different concentration camps, maybe 2. Anyway, she wrote a book, but here's a quote from Corrie ten Boom. She says, "Beware the barrenness of a busy life." Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Very true. It's fine to be engaged, fine to be active, but just busy, it can be very empty.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank
Everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to us.
No, I felt I was like 20 minutes into it, I'm like, there were a lot of words.
So many, all